Hey there, it's Mark Yegge. Welcome to How to Create Reliable Income. And it's a pretty simple title. We're going to just jump right into it. I'm glad you're here. Let's get rocking and rolling. So I call this life-changing income. So in this training, I'm going to show you how I create life-changing income. And then you can decide for yourself if it's something for you. But this is a good way to learn. And so I'm going to try to lay it out as much as I possibly can so that you can learn. So welcome, and let's get started. So my goal is to show you how to create reliable income, either on a weekly or a monthly basis, using the safest option strategy without experience. So you don't even have to know what an option is to be able to do this, but you do have to learn a system if you want to be able to do this. I will show you how I target 2 to 4% a month in income. Doesn't always happen, but I show you how it's pretty darn consistent. Sometimes it exceeds it. I will show you how I made 24 to 48% a year without spending time in front of my computer so you can enjoy your life. And that's really the goal, is to not be a slave to another job with your investments, is to let those investments kind of do it for you. And I'll show you how to do that. When we're done with all of this stuff that I'm going to be teaching you over the next, let's say, hour or so, you're going to learn and think about, number one, how the wealthy can build freedom into their lives. And number two, how to create reliable income from the stock market. Number three, to see actual results and strategies. And by the way, it's not what you think. So I'm going to show you that. And number four is how to get total control over your investments by using a system. If you're anything like me, you want some kind of a system. You want some of a little bit more certainty in generating your investment results. And I'm going to show you some of that. So the ultimate goal here is working up to a 7 or 8 figure portfolio that creates $10,000, $20,000, or $30,000 a month in income without you having to, exchange your time for money. That's really the goal that we all want, right? So here's the stark reality. If you don't have a proven income system, you are doomed to fail, right? There's this strategy called buy and hope that everybody puts their money into, and they go give their money to a broker, and the broker's like, don't worry, we'll just invest for 10 years and we'll be diversified, and over time you'll make 8% or whatever it is. What if the market doesn't go up? Like right now, it's not exactly going up. And so you're kind of doomed to fail because you don't have an income system that's proven. And I'm going to show you that as we go here. So who am I? My name is Mark Yegge. I'm a wealth architect, fund manager, author, all this other kind of stuff. And over the past 40 years or so, I've been successfully, quote unquote, mostly successfully investing in the stock market. Because even when I lose, I learn. So to me, that translates into success. I was the CEO of a Wall Street company for 10 years, so I kind of know where the bodies are buried on Wall Street, know what they do, kind of the inside secrets. I've traded over $14 billion worth of securities through me, my firms, my hedge funds, my companies. So I've got a little bit of experience. I'm a financial advisor to multimillionaires, hedge fund manager, and I've written a few books on money. One of them is called The Cash Flow Machine Fundamentals. I've written a book called Hacking Money, which is basically the basics of money. And my most recent book is called Passive Income for Doctors, because I realize that doctors really need this program as well. And I've authored lots of trading courses. It's a really fun thing for me to do. And so I've got trading programs in The Cash Flow Machine, Trade Like a Pro, Stock Trade Genius. These are a few of the brands I've authored. Why should you listen to me? I mean, it's a really good question. I have an income fund that utilizes exactly what you're about to learn. I have about every certification in the book: Series 4, 7, 65, 24, 8, registered investment advisor, and on. Lots of certifications on Wall Street. 40 plus years of experience in trading. Ever since I was a kid, I've been trading. And I want to move now to letting you know how it all started, because there's a bit of a backstory here that I think you should know. So I've been trading and investing for a lot of years, and I've made a lot of money. But the problem is it seemed to go up and down. And I also learned how not to make money. So that's a pretty important part of this. And I don't call that losing money. I call that like tuition. But I want to tell you that in 2008, remember we had that big financial crisis, I owned a stock called First Solar, and I had ridden it up to make a ton of money. And in fact, I grew one of my portfolios from just a few $1,000s to a 6-figure portfolio. And then the market crashed. Remember that period of time? The stock crashed, and I did everything wrong. I had no system. I had no plan. I even had protective stops in, but the stock jumped over my protective stop loss prices, and I missed it. And then I panicked, and I did everything, I did everything wrong, I guess I should say at this point, because of emotion. I would say emotions are the enemy of the trader. And when emotions go up, intelligence goes down. And I certainly experienced that then. And I looked at my dwindling portfolio and I was like, I'm never going to let this happen again. Never going to let this happen again. I'm tired of riding all these ups and downs in the market. And I was investing at the time for capital gains. And I wasn't investing for income. And so I asked myself, what is the best way to trade in the market for cash flow? And believe me, I've tried all of them. I've tried dividends where you get, these little paltry returns. They were really low at the time. And especially when you factor in inflation and taxes, the dividends is no way to get rich and make money. I tried to use mutual funds because there's a lot of mutual funds that pay income. I've tried to use real estate investment trusts. They don't really pay much, and they also need to pay the people that work for them first. So that's the money that comes out of my pocket as an investor. So that didn't work. And I looked at bonds and CDs and mutual funds and money market funds. No. The results were way too small. Like there were really not a lot of answers. And so I needed something that would make regular income because I thought back to what my mentor said. He said, got to make cash flow, right? And I wanted something that would make income, but it would also protect against some of the volatility in the market and took away some of the risk when the market moved down as well. And so I went back to my mentor's teachings, which was a strategy of investing called covered calls, which I've known about since I was a kid. But I knew that it couldn't be just regular covered calls because if it were that easy, then everybody would do it. I needed a full system around the covered calls. So I did what every successful investor has to do. I invested in myself. I would go out and buy every course on investing. I invested in books. I invested in seminars. I went and learned. I'd find mentors and gurus and I'd follow them. And I basically had to invest a lot of myself and a lot in myself to be able to have the confidence to create a whole new way of thinking. Because I knew that if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. And I knew that if I kept thinking the same way, I was going to get the same results. Basically, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn how to do what I'm about to talk about. And so I relied on everything that I'd learned, and I started to create a full system, putting my own money at risk, putting my own time at risk. I learned when to get in, when to get out, what stocks to trade. I learned how much to target, how to prevent losses. I learned all about probabilities. And then I started to have some massive success with my system. I also had some setbacks, which is part of the massive success, right? You can't be massively successful unless you learn along the way. And part of that is losing money and having some setbacks. Basically, since then, I've invested millions of dollars of my own money and time. I've taken seminars, reading books, getting better and better at my strategies. And so I put it all together into this program, this system called the Cash Flow Machine, so that I can help people learn from my experience and use a system that Wall Street uses too to make money in the market. The Cash Flow Machine is designed to make you 2 to 4% a month in income. And today I've helped lots and lots of people learn how to do it. But one thing I learned, it's not the system that you buy, but it's that you have to believe in yourself. You see, in order to be good in trading, you have to reduce the emotions, like I mentioned. And reduce the emotions, you need to learn a system. A system has rules and guidelines so that you're able to reduce those emotional decisions. And when it's time to buy, you just buy. And when it's time to sell calls, you just do it. And you collect the income with confidence. And you do it over and over again. You invest in the system. You believe in the system, right? You follow the rules of the system. And like any proven formula, if you follow it for a while, you start to get results. But it all starts with that belief in yourself. That's where it starts. So let's say you have a goal. For example, I have a client that wants to have an income of $10,000 a month. So then you have to ask your brain the right questions. Because if you ask your brain the right questions, your brain is going to spit out the right answers. So you have to figure out, what is the mechanism to make $10,000 per month? Now, there's probably a million ways to do it, but I've got confidence in my system because I've spent a lot of time and money in developing it. So I'm going to get to that $10,000 a month with my system. Like, I'm determined to do that. So at 2% a month, that means you have to have a minimum of $500,000 or $250,000 if you're at 4% a month. But what if you don't have $250,000? And what if you don't have $500,000? Well, you've got to start somewhere, right? How do you get there? You got to start somewhere. You reinvest in yourself, you reinvest in your portfolio, and then you start to get there. You start small, or you start right where you are, and you start to build. and you build it with a plan. And let me tell you, it's easy to have $1 million portfolio spit out $10,000 a month. I see it happen all the time. And I see it happening all the time with the cash flow machine. So maybe that's your goal. Maybe it's $20,000 or $30,000 or more. Whatever your goal is, you got to start somewhere, and you got to have a mechanism to get you where you want to go. Now, I'm a little biased, but I believe the cash flow machine is the best stock trading program I've ever seen. I mean, it's not always perfect, but it is a probabilities-based system, and it gets the odds in your favor so you can win and create that income every month. And so that's how this got started, right? And that's where we are today. All right, so then I got together and I said, how do my wealthy friends create income? And I started to study all of my wealthy friends, and I got quite a few of them, and I started to look at what they do. And the bottom line is that every single one of them has a proven system. So I'm like, okay, I'm on the right track with this proven system thing. Let's really delve into it and make sure that we understand what we're all talking about here. And basically, I boiled it down into 3 keys. So how do I create reliable income? These 3 keys that I'm going to show you right now. The first one is options, okay? And so I know what you may be thinking, and a lot of people think the same thing. Options are risky. Yes. If you understand anything about trading in the markets, options are risky if you're the buyer, because the buyer of option can lose all of their money if they're wrong. Absolutely true. Yes, options are risky because time works against the option buyer. I'll show you that later. And options expire worthless 80% of the time. And by the way, if you stick to the end, I'm going to give you a couple little goodies and nuggets you can take away from this that you're going to want to see. So stick around to the end. And so if options expire worthless 80% of the time for the buyer, what about if you're the seller? So I'm going to show you that as we go. But to do that, a lot of people don't really understand what an option is and how an option works. So I put together this little animated video. People understand real estate kind of because they can walk in it. And so I'm going to show you using a real estate analogy how that all works. So take a look.
So here's a guy named Jim, the guy with the red tie here, and he owns some land. Let's call it a city block, and it's worth about $100,000. Then there is Bob, this guy with the red hair and the beard, and he sees this lot is for sale, and he hears that a big hotel is going up right across the street from that land. So he thinks that that land could be worth maybe $200,000, not just $100,000. But the problem is he doesn't have $100,000 to buy it. He's kind of broke, but he sees this big opportunity there. What he does is he approaches Jim and he says, I'll pay you $10,000 if you'll sell me your property anytime in the next 6 months for your asking price of $100,000. Jim says, wait a minute, if I sell you my property for the same price I want to sell it for now, but the only difference is you're going to pay me $10,000 to take it off the market and give you a chance to buy it anytime in the next 6 months, and I get to keep the $10,000? And Bob says, yeah, that's what I'm offering. So they shake hands and they make a deal. So, who has the risk here? Well, looking at Bob, he could lose his full $10,000 if he's wrong. Now, if he's right, he hits a home run. Okay, now Jim, his deal is he gets to keep the $10,000 no matter what. It goes right into his wallet, and if Bob exercises his option, Jim also sells his lot for the asking price that he wanted. He gets his $100,000 too. So Jim, in this case, has a relatively low risk. Make sense? A week later, Bob finds out that it was just a rumor, and this hotel is not going up, and it's not going to make that property worth $200,000. And Jim still has a piece of property that's worth $100,000. Nothing's changed on his side. Let's analyze the positions. Jim still owns the lot, and he got a $10,000 bonus or a 10% return. He also reduced his cost, he reduced his risk. That's another way to look at it. Bob, on the other hand, got unlucky. He invested his $10,000 and he lost all of it, so he was really unlucky. In this case, Jim basically just collected rent from Bob on his property. So over time, I would ask you this: who would you rather be? Would you rather be Jim, that has the lot, or would you rather be Bob, that you know was swinging for the fences, but he lost it all? Well, that's an easy one. You want to be like Jim. You want to be the guy that doesn't take the huge risk. Now, can we be Jim in the stock market? Well, you better believe it. And if you've ever played Monopoly, it has a couple of places on the board. Boardwalk and Park Places are the most expensive properties on the board. But if you own any properties on the board, anytime somebody lands on them, they have to pay you rent every time they go around the board. So there's always a Bob out there, there's always a gambler out there that's willing to pay you rent. And if you're Jim, you could take money from all the Bobs over and over and over again, all year long. And that's what we want to do. We want to start collecting rent.
We saw how that works, right? So how do I do it? Well, I find a really good stock and I rent it out for the income. I squeeze the juice, right? I use that. I rent the stocks, just like we talked about in that animation. And the goal there is 2 to 4% in monthly income. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, 2 to 4% in monthly income, but it is. And I'll show you in a sec. So the key to it is probabilities. That's the second key that I want to show you. Probabilities is what this is all about. So I don't know if you've ever played blackjack, but if you've ever sat down at a blackjack table, chances are you've seen this little card. They actually give it out to you if you want. And the card is basically a card that says you should hit or double down or stay or split. All those little numbers are what you have versus what the dealer has. And so if you follow this card, mathematically, the computers have all figured out mathematically, if you have a 4 to 8 deck blackjack deck, you have, by using this card, a chance of doing really well. I don't think you ever get all the odds completely in your favor, but if you use this card, these are mathematically the best odds at the table by just doing the things that this card says to do. So the goal is to stack the odds in your favor, right? It's not to sit there and have fun, although that's what most people do. And Vegas is fun and the blackjack is fun. But the goal is, if you want to win, you've got to stack the odds in your favor. It's probabilities. How does that relate to the stock market? Let me show you. Kind of using that same analogy, how do we stack the odds in our favor? Well, I've done some studying on this, and it's not perfectly scientific, but it's pretty darn good. And, when you buy a stock, you've got a 50% chance of being right and a 50% chance of being wrong, because the other person on the other side of that trade, if you buy a stock, is a seller. They think they're right, or they wouldn't have sold it to you. So you've got a 50% chance of being right, but it's what happens after you buy the stock that makes all the difference between the good traders and the bad ones. So the second thing is, if you can get the right stock, right? Not all stocks are good, right? If you can get the right stock in your favor, you get that edge from 50 to say 55 to 57%, right? Just by having the right stock, a good quality stock. The next thing is, if you're in the right market, you can add another 7 to 8%. So a right market is kind of like that tailwind, because 70% of a stock's performance comes from the direction of the stock market. It's a market of stocks, a stock market. It's kind of obvious, but maybe sometimes people don't think about it. But that stacks another 7 to 8%. If you find the right spot on the chart, and the studies have shown that if you are at the breakout spot, a pivot point, right, after a pattern, a cup and handle or double bottom or a consolidation, then you have a 60% chance of a breakout happening if it happens on the right kind of volume. So stacking another 4% to 6% with the right spot on the chart. And then our secret sauce in the cash flow machine is all those things, plus we squeeze the juice, renting the stock like we just talked about, and we get another 6% to say 8% by squeezing the juice. So what does that do? We're just stacking the probabilities in our favor, adding a little bit here, adding a little bit there, and pretty soon it starts to add up to what I figure is about a 72 to 79% probability that you're going to do well over time in the market. It's a lot better than 50%. So if you actually look at it, you're at a 21% chance of losing money tops, maybe to 28. And the other is 72 to 79% chance of making money. The third key is to compound your returns. Everybody talks about compounding, but I'm going to show you why it's so important. So I call this little section financial porn, because it's actually just sick to look at it, right? It's insane. But to me, this is really telling the story. And this is why I always tell my students that you've got to keep a long-term perspective. You've got to believe in what's going on in front of you, but you've got to also keep that long-term perspective. So let's take a look at this. This is $100,000 invested. If you could just make 2% a month compounded over 10 years, right? And that's the whole amount invested. You 10x your money. It's $1,076,000 after 10 years by just making 2% a month. If you can keep that consistently going, That's how it works. Now, if you look at the slope of that, in the very beginning, the little red line doesn't move very much, but all of a sudden, the slope starts to increase as you go through time. So that's why you have to keep your eye on the ball. It's really hard for people to do. If you can get 4% a month, which is what we talk about in the program, 2 to 4%, then now you're really talking about something. You're 10xing that number. So now you could take 100,000 and in 10 years, you have $11 million. And I don't know about you, but you can live on that if you budget it right, right? So that's the total savings that you can have if you invest at 4% a month. Pretty cool, right? And so small wins add up to big gains, just 2 to 4%, but it adds up. And, we don't have to swing for the fences. That's what most people do is they swing out of their shoes and they try to hit home runs. We don't need to hit home runs. We just need to hit little base hits and get on base because those small wins add up to big gains and put you in the Hall of Fame, to use a baseball analogy. So what are the 3 keys to my proven system for creating income? Well, first of all, we collect rent using options, right? So we get the money from the options buyer. We're the options seller. Probabilities, we hedge risk, we manage risk, we get probabilities on our side. And the third key is we compound those returns. We let the time start to work for us as we add to our account and compound those returns. So who uses this strategy? Because a lot of people are like, well, this is like a made up strategy. No, like this is not. It's just I'm exposing it to the world to see because it is a strategy that the big money institutions use. And so we want to follow them. Like Wayne Gretzky said, I skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it's been. And he's right. We want to follow the big money because they're the ones that are driving stocks up as they put money into these stocks and take money away from them. We want to follow them. We're not smarter than they are. Trust me. Warren Buffett also uses this strategy. He uses the strategy to just create income on his investments. And now he uses really good quality investments. You know what they are. Most of his investments are in Apple. And he uses much of his wealth and has over the years using option strategies that I'm showing you right here. Who else does it? Well, this friend of mine named David King. Now, David came to me when he was like 59. He's now 65. He's a retiree, fellow pilot, entrepreneur. He's got more than $1 million invested. It's funny because he came and he goes, hey, what do you do? He got introduced to me by a mutual friend. And my friend said, you guys will probably have a lot in common. And we did. And then he's like, well, what do you do for a living? And I said, well, I trade the market. He goes, well, I'm not giving you my money. I go, no, I don't want your money. I don't do that for people anymore. He said, well, why don't you teach me what you do? And I showed him, and actually on a blackboard, and I kind of laid it all out how we do this. And he was like fascinated, right? And so he lost $3 million in the stock market, but he could invest his own money. And now he makes $25,000 a week using our system. It's called the cash flow machine. I'll talk about it in a little bit. And he travels around the world playing tennis and pickleball, which is pretty fun, by the way, if you haven't played it. But here's what David has to say.
I got involved with Mark's system 2 years ago this month. My first year was quite a learning experience. I had great successes. Equally, I had great failures. But in 2019, I made 40.6% on my money, which is unheard of for someone with a high school education and no experience trading whatsoever. This system is off the charts. If you listen to Mark, he'll make you rich.
So David made that video obviously a couple of years ago, and I don't know why he keeps harping on this high school education thing. Who cares? Like anybody can learn the system, but he does really well. He's making decent amount of money, and now he's retired and lives on this income. How again do I do it? I'm going to explain a little bit more how I do it. I buy the stock, and I sell options against the stock. Okay, just like we've been talking about, I rent the stock by selling the options. The goal for me is to get probabilities on our side. So I go out there and I work really hard to find a great stock. So in this chart, this is Apple. You could see that stock chart. Everybody would fall in love with a chart like that. That's what Apple has done over the years, and that's a great stock. You got to be in a green market. So you want the market to be in your favor. I call it green. We teach a market timing system in our system that shows you how to find a market that's green where the tailwind is behind you. We start at a high probability spot on the chart. So we have little spots. There's a few good spots on the chart where you get your best probabilities of a breakout or of the stock moving higher. We want to be there. That gets those odds on our side. And then our edge, again, I've told you this before, is squeezing the juice, collecting the rent, and we get that going too. So we get all four of those things working in alignment, and that's really the system of how I do it. Just people that are the gamblers, and they walk into the casino. I want to be the casino. I want to be the house, because the house knows that the longer you sit there over time, the more chance that they have of taking your money and building this beautiful building and having all these people running around that are employed by the casino. I want to be the casino. I don't want to be the gambler that usually forks over his money. That's the difference. And so option buyers sit there at the casino, and over time, they lose option value over and over again because they're trying to hit the home run. We don't want to be the option buyers. I'm throwing this slide in to kind of show you that this system has generated for me lots of freedom, right? So I travel around the world. I carry my laptop and phone with me wherever I go, but I get to go and ride motorcycles with cool people and hang out and have seminars and events and go do adventures and go to really cool archaeological sites. And I just travel around the world. That's how I use my money. And this program affords me the opportunity to do that. I don't know what it is for you. Maybe it's more time with your family, it's more going to the spa, more time on the golf course, or more time at work. I don't know what it is for you, more projects to work on. Whatever it is for you, a program that brings you in reliable income is something that you want to build toward. And that's what the cash flow machine is for me. I look at life in terms of the freedoms that I want to have. So I want to have financial freedom. So I don't have to be worried about what I'm spending. I don't spend a lot, but I don't have to worry about what I'm spending. I want to not be tied to something. So I have time freedom, right? I get the freedom to do what I want. I get to go where I want. I get to pursue my purpose. And then I get to hang out with the people that I want to hang out with. I don't know about you, but if people aren't people that I want to hang out with, I don't really enjoy it. So I try to eliminate that. And I only want to hang out with really cool, fun people around the world. At this point, a lot of people, ask me, because I explain this system a lot to people, and they're like, Mark, that sounds way too good to be true. And I've been asking that question for decades now, right? And wondering, why doesn't everybody do this? And is it too good to be true? These are all great questions. A few years ago, I was telling somebody this program, and they go, you know what? It sounds too good to be true. And I go, yeah, I know it does. And I don't know what else to do. But you know what? I have this IRA. So I kind of was like, I'm going to make this a challenge, right? And I said, I'm going to take my IRA, which at that time had like 200 shares of Twitter in it, back when Twitter was a real company and traded. And it wasn't doing anything. If you look at that first little chart there on the left, you can see the four little black graphs there are pretty flat. So Twitter wasn't really doing anything. And I'm like, what am I doing investing in Twitter? I've got this thing called the cash flow machine that I'm doing in my other accounts. Let me prove to this person and to myself that I can do it. So I sold everything out of my IRA, and I put this $111,822 account. You can see that there on April of 2020. That's the statement from Schwab. I've blocked out the account number. And so you can see that I started with 111,000. And then you can go down in 21 months later. You can look at the date. It's February of 2022. So 21 months later, the account was now worth $527,000 in 21 months. And you can look at the little chart there. And so that account has basically gone up quite a bit. I've actually made about $410,000 or so on the account. Not bad in 21 months. And the only thing I did was I bought Netflix at the very beginning after I sold the Twitter. I bought like Netflix for like 3.5 months using the cash flow machine, and I wrote calls against it. And then I switched to Tesla. And I've basically been in Tesla ever since, for the good and the bad. Tesla goes up and down quite a bit. And so you can look at this account value over here on the right. A couple months after that, it got up to a value of $708,600. And by the way, I keep this updated on our website, cashflowmachine.io. And if you want to see the results even up to date now, I mean, it's fluctuated quite a bit, but you can see those are the results that we've gotten. And so I proved to myself, and I proved to this person that was like, yeah, sounds too good to be true, that it can be done. And it has been done. Here it is, my actual proof. Now, I haven't added anything to that account, by the way. That account started with 111,000, and now it's worth what it is today. So there's proof, but don't just take my word for it. We've got lots of people in the program that have sent me texts and gave me videos, and I'm gonna just read a couple of those. I've taught a lot of people. So between my Roth IRA and my wife's, we have 430,000. I'm well on my way to a $500,000 year-end account value. Maybe I should shoot for 600,000 by the end of the year. And I said, yeah, maybe you should. Thanks for sharing and for sharing your wisdom. Also, here's the next person in the middle has got 190,000. You can look at that little chart there. It goes from lower left to upper right, which is the right direction. And that person is up about 40% from what I can see here in like a 3-month period. It says, even through January 22, with Tesla's drop, I was able to gain 15%. 160,000 turned into 184,000. This is a Roth, so I only added 6,000 in the middle of January. This is really critical because even when the stock drops, if you do the system right, you can still make money because you're getting the income in. A lot of people just don't realize that. And then this other person said, he's afraid of paying too much in taxes to the IRS. And I said, wait, let me get this straight. You don't want to make too much money because you don't want to give it to the government? He's like, yeah, I don't want to give him too much money. So I'm only planning to grow that account 40 to 50%. My Roth accounts, on the other hand, I'm planning to grow them at 100%. So 100% is probably shooting for the moon, shooting for that home run, but certainly 40 to 50% is in the realm of possibility. And then a few other people. Elizabeth Sigmund says, I've enjoyed learning and love the feeling of ownership and control of my investments. No longer just putting money in a 401k and crossing my fingers, hoping someone is paying attention and making good decisions on her behalf. Staring at those 401k statements like watching a pot boil. I check my investments now several times a week, and I have a hand in my own future. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this intelligent, positive, and kind group. Chris says in his meditation, he was feeling a wave of gratitude for what he's learned. How fortunate we are that while other people are losing money this year, we're able to make gains or at a minimum protect against losses. Thanks, Mark, for learning and teaching, and thank you to everyone for sharing your own insights and mistakes in our little group. Another text, this is the 200 contracts that I bought 5 weeks ago and rolled down to the 145s. I'm up 123,528. Not sure why the little one didn't print there, but 71%. It's crazy stuff, all paid for by the juice. And I said, that is amazing and crazy stuff. And then last one, Joe says, Mark, I wanted to send you a personal note. I'm such a believer in the system, and I'm so grateful to be a part of the mastermind group. Enphase, which is stock, has been getting crushed. But as you said, it's just math, and it's about the big picture. Right now, the S&P is break even to slightly down since I started trading with the cash flow machine philosophy. Enphase, his stock, is down almost 20% from the entry point at 292, but he's up 3%. Pretty cool, right? The stock's down, but he's still up. Plus, the knowledge I've learned and what my trading plan is looking like moving forward is priceless. In the 7th worst year since 1927 for the S&P 500, you've made a believer in me. Only upside from here. My only regret is I didn't do this sooner. So we've got other people that are doing this. It's not just my word for it because you don't know who I am. It's just a bunch of other people like David and in Warren Buffett doing this stuff too. But the results all come from what? They come from a system, a proven system. And so what is any proven system? Well, a proven system is a system that has rules and strategies and tools, right? So any system you could think of has all these things. It has what if scenarios, like what if the market goes down and what if it goes up and what if my stock goes down, those kinds of things. It has risk management with trade adjustments. We try to remove emotions from the decisions with all this because when emotions go up, intelligence goes down and vice versa. So we try to get rid of the emotions by having rules and systems. And all this is based on proven experience, and we've tested it over time. So we're not just winging it, right? And so what is the solution? Well, I'll tell you, the solution is something that I put together called the cash flow machine system. It's got rules, it's got strategies, it's got tactics. It helps you build the trading plan around your personality. We target 2 to 4% a month. It takes very little time to execute this. Some people that do it on a monthly basis spend an hour a month looking at their account. It performs well in all markets. Obviously, it performs better in markets that are going up. That's what we like. But when the markets are going down, like you saw in some of those people's testimonials, they're still doing okay, and that's the cool thing is that you can live to fight another day if you handle your risk right. It reduces risk in down markets. It makes income 100% of the time. You always get to keep the rent. You always get the income. And it's a probability-based system. Some people that have come through the program, I'm doing a little before and after for you here, and this might even be you, right? So maybe before you trusted your money to a broker, maybe before you made average to poor results. After you come through our system, the transformation is cool. And I love to see it. It's you trust yourself more because you're gaining knowledge. You're now making reliable income. You're getting 2 to 4% a month. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but you're getting like that 2 to 4% a month, depending on the stock that you're in. The cool thing is that you learn this system for your whole life. So you're going to invest a little bit of time and some money in learning the system and understanding the system, and then trading and getting that experience to boost it. But once you get all that, You're now going to work on mastering the system for the rest of your life and getting better and better and better. That's the real key. Maybe before you were a gambler on stocks, or maybe you were a gambler on options. A lot of people come through our program and are like that. Maybe you didn't have a system for cutting losses, or you don't have a system for cutting losses now. Or what do you do when you make gains? Do you pull them off the table too early? Do you let them run? What is the system that you have? And you probably see that investing takes too much time. Maybe that's the case. But after you come through the cash flow machine, you realize that you're the house. You realize that you have total control over your investments. You're not giving up your power and your health, your wealth, or your time. That's what I like to say. It's one of my favorite sayings. And you're not giving up your power and your wealth. You're getting total confidence. You're learning a complete system. And really, if you do it, it takes 20 minutes to an hour a week. That's the transformation that could happen. The bottom line is, like Gandhi says, you have total control. If you change yourself, you are in control. Like I said before, I do this from anywhere. Financial freedom, ditch your 9-to-5, be completely independent. However you want to look at this concept, you can do this from anywhere in the world, because all you have to do is have a phone or a laptop. What is it? Now I want to go into a couple things, and then I'm going to show you a couple little bonus pieces here that I think you're going to like. But what is it? Again, it's called the cash flow machine. What's the secret? Well, the secret is, like I mentioned before, we have cornerstones. You buy the right stock in the right market at the right spot on the chart, and then you squeeze the juice. Bottom line is those three keys are there. We collect the rent, we compound it, we hedge our risk. We collect the rent, we compound, hedge, collect, compound, hedge. Do it over and over again for the rest of your life. That's what we do. And you just watch that account build. Hopefully, if you do it right, it builds quickly, but it certainly is going to build over time. And you got to keep your eye down the road, like I always tell everybody. But some people are like, well, Mark, show me how easy it is to do, because it sounds complicated. You buy a stock, you sell a call. How do I know what stock to buy? How do I know what options to sell? All that kind of stuff. So I just recorded this trade a few months ago, and I thought I'd pull it out here and just show you. It's just a click of a button. And if you know what you're doing, that's a good thing. Let me just show you how it works. So we're looking at Apple, and we're just going to go ahead and buy 1,000 shares of the stock. You can see that Apple's trading at about 124.81. So we're going to go ahead and say buy, and we're going to say 1,000 shares at the market. We don't really quibble about that extra penny in there, and we're going to hit submit, and then we're going to say override and transmit. And we just bought 1,000 shares of Apple. You can see that trade sitting right there, and we've got 1,000 shares of Apple with a market value of 124,810. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to find our options on it. So the next step is you go to the options chain, and we're going to go out 31 days. Today is June 1st. We're going to go out a month. And we're going to go down here. These are all the calls. These are the ones we're going to worry about. We don't worry about anything on this side of the screen. So we're going to worry about these calls. And the calls here are trading. You can see these prices. We're worried about selling, so we're going to sell on the bid. It's like the retail price and the wholesale price. The bid is like the wholesale price. So we're going to sell at the wholesale price because we want to just get a quick execution. And so now we're just going to study, which is the best one for us to make that 2% in a month. And we see here that if we do these 122s, which are in the money, we get some protection amount, but we're going to make 2% a month. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to sell those options. And so you see it very similar to before. Now, an option is the right to buy 100 shares. So we just did 1,000 shares of Apple. So we're going to buy 10 options, which is equivalent to buying 1,000 shares of Apple. We're going to go ahead and do it at the market, and we're going to hit execute, override, and transmit. Now we're going to go back to our other screen. We are now executed. Here we go. Come on, fill it in for me. Okay, so there's the 10 contracts right there, and it shows that we're up $30 on the stock and we're down $17 on the call. And they work in inverse relationship to each other in general. But you can see, here's the execution we got. So within about 2 minutes, we're able to buy 1,000 shares of Apple and sell the call against it. If Apple stays at or above 122, we end up making, that 2%, which is what we're going for, right? So here's how the numbers shake out. I want to just kind of take a step back and show you what those numbers were. So we bought 1,000 shares of Apple at $124.81. So we spent $124,810. However, we got some money back immediately because we sold the July 2 122 strike options, right? And so those are call options at 494. Call means we want the stock to go up, but we got 494 for those. So we got $4,940. What does that do? Well, you take your 124,810, you subtract out the 4,940 because that's money you got back, and now you've brought your cost basis down to 119,870 or 119,887 per share for the stock that's trading now $5 higher than that, right? And so assuming Apple stays above 122, which is the strike price, at expiration, the buyer can take our Apple. That's the maximum amount of profit that we get. And so we ended up making $2,130 or $2.13 per share, right? On 119,870 invested. We ended up making 1.8%. Now that's about a month-long trade. So that's about 2% a month, right? Just a little bit under. And so if you can do that over and over again, and that one's pretty secure, you end up making 1.8%. If it stays above the 122. That's pretty good, right? So that's what we want, is we want to try to get those probabilities in our favor, and the way we do it is just the way we showed you. And so you just now learned the process, right? You learned how to do this. You find the right stock in the right market. We had Apple in the right market. By the way, this trade did work out at the right spot on the chart, and we collected the rent. So you can see that those four things working together get the probabilities in our favor. And, if you go out and buy a house, let's say you're in the real estate business, you go buy a house because you want to rent it out. And let's say you spend $300,000 in the house and you get $2,000 a month in rent. Do you really care that the house is now, a week later worth $303,000 or it's worth $292,000? No, you care about getting the rent. The $2,000, as long as it's coming in every month, that's the reason you bought the house. And that's the hardest thing to get your brain around, because most people are used to buying low, selling high, and investing for capital gains. This is an income system. So the stock is really the vehicle to get your income from it. I hope that makes sense. So the cash flow machine, to now go a little bit forward and maybe start into a little bit of a commercial. And you don't have to buy or anything. You can just sit here and learn. And if you want to buy, then great. That would be great. But if you want to just learn and kind of see what we're going to do the rest of this program, I'll tell you what it's all about, and you can decide for yourself. You can learn from a college level course. We cover all those things and more that are over there in that black box on the left. Roll downs, crossovers, timing, spreads, strategies, synthetics, technical analysis, fundamental analysis, emotions, all these other things that we cover. Lori is a person that took the course and loved it and, went through our whole system. And she's the mom of 2 grown kids. She's retired. She started with under a couple $100,000. She had some early success in the program, and now she's got 7 figures in the program. I just love hearing from Lori because she's really cool. So let's listen to what she has to say.
I'm Lori. Nice to meet everybody. It's very exciting to be here. I'm so excited for all of you because I'm blown away by what's happening with my money. I'm pinching myself every day and every week when I look at my account. You're not going to believe it. So Mark and I met in our building and on the pool deck, and I started with him in March. We started out where he placed a trade for me, and within 2 days I made $6,500 on $200,000. I'm like, whoa! So he kind of started with that, and then I started in the program because he was setting this up in May 16th. I started with $400,000. And I'm now at $475,000. So it's incredible income that just keeps coming in. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing that this is happening. So I'm very excited for all of you to start in this as well. And whoever else can get in it, because this is what we all want, is financial freedom, right? So we can do the things we love to do. Trust the system and trust that Mark knows what he's doing, which he does. I have full confidence in that. Totally. You guys are, trust me, you're in the right hands. This is incredible. Really, you're just going to be, you're going to see as it goes on that your mind is going to be blown, and you're going to be like, what planet am I living on now that I can do this so easily?
And remember at the beginning of this, I said, here's what you're going to learn or maybe think about. how the wealthy can build freedom into their lives. I just showed you a method of how to do it, how to create reliable income, see actual results. I think I covered that, and how to get total control of your investments by using a system. So now let me just talk a little bit about what the program is about. I'm actually looking for people who get it. Maybe you are somebody who gets it. But whatever it is, not everybody gets it. I want people that want to make money in every type of market. I want people that want to create income and cash flow weekly or monthly and are committed to that. And I want people that understand that you don't have to spend tons of hours glued to their computer. In fact, that probably works against you, as if you're watching the computer too much. You can do this on 20 minutes a week if you got a pretty stable stock. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And I don't know if that's you or not. I have a program called the Cash Flow Machine Elite Course. This is my premier course. I'm really proud of it. It's a complete system. It's an 8-week online training. That's how it was designed, but you can do it very quickly if you sit down and go through the modules. One of our people, his name was Eddie. I kept seeing all of his quizzes and tests, and he was getting hundreds on all of them. And they were like coming in like every 15 or 20 minutes. And I'm like, how can anybody watch all those videos that quickly? And so I finally picked up the phone and I called him, and he was a new student. And I said, hey, just so you know, I'm Mark Yegge, and I see you're passing all these quizzes and tests. And he goes, yeah, I'm watching you on 2x speed. And I go, okay, how can you grab all this stuff? But I knew he was getting hundreds on everything. And he's still using the system. He's really got a great trading plan. And I'm really proud that he's stuck to his guns, and now he's seeing the results. But this is a system that generates 2 to 4% a month, lets others pay you for their risk. You got to know when to be in, when to be out. It's a full system for generating cash flow or to generate wealth. It's the same system I use in my hedge funds. We got lots of modules in it. I'll tell you about all the rest of it in just a second. But the bottom line is it also tells you what to do when the market shifts, because not every market, especially these markets lately, are not the ones that we want, right? Not every market's the one that we want. So who is this for? Well, it's for anybody who wants to create income from their investments. 2 to 4% a month, like I've said before, is what we target. It's for anyone who's trading their time for money, and they're working maybe for somebody else. If you're not working for your dream, you're probably working for somebody else's dream. So why don't you start working on your dream? Right? Anyone who doesn't want to spend time in front of their computer, that's also who this is for. It's for anyone who's open to learning a new way of thinking. Because like I always say to people, you have to take your brain out of your head, you shake it up a little bit, you put it back in there, and it's a new way of thinking. So it's for people like that. It's anybody that understands that investing is playing defense as well as offense. It's really important not to lose money, because not losing money is making money sometimes. Who is this not for, though? And by the way, it's for anybody not trying to hit home runs, like I've said before. Who's it not for? We're looking down the road and over time. It's not for anybody that wants to hit it out of the park. It's not for people who don't want to stick to a proven system, because there are people that take the course and then they think they have better ideas and they start getting off track, and then they're like, oh, this doesn't work. And then they lose interest because they're not sticking to the plan. I've got a plan there in front of you. I give you all the tools. All you have to do is implement the tools. You get to choose what tools to implement, because I give you a lot of them. But if you implement the tools and you put together a trading plan, it's a proven system. Why reinvent the wheel? Anybody who needs lots of stimulation in their investing, right? Because this is a boring system. The more bored you are in our system, the better you're going to do, because you're just going to keep creating that income every week, and eventually it's going to lead to that big return like I talked about earlier. Somebody who doesn't have a long-term mindset, if you're looking to day trade, like I said, or do things on a very short basis, you've got to have a long-term mindset. It's not for anybody like that. Now, the question I would have for you is, what if all this system did was teach you a way to trade options for income? Would that be valuable? What if all this system did was show you how to protect the downside of every trade so you could protect your account? Would that be valuable to you? What if all this system did was show you how to get probabilities on your side? Would that be worth something to you? What if all this system did was show you how to buy the right stock so that you could have a better chance at making money? You know, and that's the biggest question I get at cocktail parties is like, hey, Mark, I'm in this stock, or what's the right stock to buy? You got to figure out how to buy the right stock. We show you how to do it. What if all this system did was show you that getting small wins would amount to huge gains over that time? Would that be valuable to you? That's the question you need to answer. And so we have the program called the Elite Course. Here's all the stuff that we cover in it. We cover foundational knowledge, understanding the basics, what are options, why we trade them, learning and preparation, setting up your system, vocabulary, setting up your screeners, analysis, fundamentals, technicals, the right spot on the chart, pattern recognition, pricing options, all these other things that we do. And it goes on and on and on. We've got a lot of lessons in there, and it's a complete and comprehensive system. Really proud of what we've been able to build here in the last several years, and it's really cool, and it's changing lives. Market adaptations, specialized strategies, long-term option strategies, the compensator, the juice, all these other things that we talk about in the program. It's all in there in the Elite Course. Now, let's talk about what you'll get. Well, you'll get all the stuff we just talked about, the complete training program to make you 2 to 4% a month. Now, before I started recording here, I went out and did some research, and I said, what are other people charging for programs like this? And I found Online Trading Academy, which is a great place, by the way. They're very comprehensive. They're very good. Some people have actually come to us from Online Trading Academy. They have a really good system for teaching people, but it's pricey, right? They charge $18,995 for their system. We also have 70 videos and quizzes and tests delivered to your computer or your phone. You could be a beginner and not know anything about options, all the way up through advanced trading systems. We show you all that. We show you a proven system for making that return. In addition, we're going to give you some bonuses because you're here, and this is what I promised you I would give you at the end if you want to take advantage of any of this stuff. So I'll give you 4 bonuses. The first bonus is a mentorship call with me. So we can get on, chat about your life, chat about your plan, chat about your stocks and the market and things like that. But I want to mentor you a little bit so you can understand a little bit more about what you're doing. And if you're off track, I want to help put you on track. So that's $1,000 value because I charge $1,000 an hour to do those calls. Bonus number 2 is a $500 coupon off any of our other cash flow machine programs. That's a $500 value. You can gift it to somebody. You can use it for yourself to upgrade to the next program if you want to take it. Or join our mastermind, up to you. The third bonus is I'm going to give you the rules of the cash flow machine. You can print it out, laminate it, put it on your wall, and you always have your rules in front of you. And bonus number 4 is I'm going to give you a full-blown calculator to calculate all of these returns. And those 2 things right there at the bottom line are worth $1,000. But you add it all up together, the value of that whole thing, of this whole program and all the bonuses is $21,495. Obviously, I'm not going to charge you $21,495. I'm not going to even charge you $10,000. I want to get you involved in our system, and I want to show you that it's easy to implement, and I want you to get results. That's the bottom line, is I like to see people succeed. And so I'm going to make this course $29.97 with all the bonuses if you act now, if you act today, because I want to get you involved now. And it's $2,997. I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep the bonuses up. Probably not very long, because that mentorship call takes a lot of time. And if a lot of people take advantage of it, I do have some openings right now, but those close up pretty quickly every quarter. So it's $2,997 on a $21,495 value of all the things that you're going to get. So listen, the bottom line is you get the Elite Course plus the bonuses. Today's price is $29.97. I highly recommend that you take advantage of this and start, because that time is running, right? 10 years from now, it'll still be 10 years from now. But 10 years from now, will you have the cash flow machine that's been working for you for the last 10 years so that you took your $100,000 and turned it into $1 million or $11 million or somewhere in between, right? So the 10 years is going to pass no matter what. The time is going to pass. The question is, are you going to be using that time to harness the power of this program? So here are the next steps. First one is to click on the link below to get the training and receive the 4 bonuses. Like I said, it's $29.97. Click on the link below to enroll. You can start watching the videos right away. You can knock out the first 4 or 5 in an hour or so. And then you can start making income. And then we'll follow up with the bonuses, and we'll have a call, and we'll get to know each other and all that kind of stuff. And let me conclude here by saying, click on the link below, because I think it's great. You'll benefit highly from it. And it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what you think. And, hopefully you've been able to gain something over the last, say, hour or so that we've spent together, and that you can take away at least some knowledge and apply it to your investments if I never see you again. If I do see you again, I sure hope to see you on the inside of the program. And I hope I get to meet you at maybe one of our events. But in any case, I appreciate your time and your attention to what we've been doing over the last hour or so. I know your time is valuable. I hope I honored that time by giving you some nuggets and some things you could take away. But with that, I'll just sign off and say, click the link below and have a great day. Hope to see you soon. Take care.